The assessment. High Counselor Vixthar stood before the Grand Chamber's crystalline viewport, his iridescent scales reflecting the light of 1,000 stars. Below him, Earth hung like a marble in the void, deceptively peaceful for a world that had caused so much concern among the Galactic Federation's ruling council. "They've done it again," he announced to the assembled council members, each representing the most advanced civilizations in known space. "The humans have achieved quantum tunneling transportation. It took them 3 years. 3. It took the Centaurians 2 centuries to master the same technology." A murmur rippled through the chamber. Counselor Zeratul, her ethereal form shimming with concern, spoke first. "This is the 5th breakthrough this cycle. Their acceleration curve is unprecedented." The chamber's holoprojector activated, displaying Earth's technological progression over the past century. The line chart showed an exponential curve that seemed to defy the natural laws of species development. From internal combustion to faster-than-light travel in less than 200 years, Vixthar continued. "They're breaking every developmental model we've established over 50,000 years of galactic civilization." Ambassador Krell, representing the machine collective of the Arcturus cluster, projected his analysis directly into the shared consciousness field. "Their pattern recognition capabilities exceed our predictive matrices. They solve problems through intuitive leaps that bypass standard developmental stages." Vixthar activated another hologram, this one showing human entertainment broadcasts. Images of starships, alien worlds, and fantastic technologies danced through the air. "Look at their science fiction. They don't just solve problems. They imagine solutions to problems they haven't even encountered yet. It's as if they're reading ahead in the galaxy's textbook." "Then we must act," declared Elder Ix, the oldest member of the council. Her crystalline form pulsed with ancient wisdom. "Not out of fear, but out of responsibility. We've seen civilizations advance too quickly before. The Proxians destroyed themselves when they achieved antimatter manipulation before developing the wisdom to handle it." Vixthar nodded, his scales shifting to a deep blue of determination. "I propose something unprecedented. A series of trials, disguised as challenges. We'll present them as a test for Federation membership, but in reality they'll be carefully designed to measure humanity's true capabilities and their wisdom in using them." The council chamber erupted in discussion. Testing species was forbidden under normal circumstances, but these were not normal circumstances. Humanity's rapid advancement had thrown the carefully maintained balance of galactic civilization into chaos. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her quantum laboratory's main display with a mixture of disbelief and excitement. The results of her latest experiment defied everything she thought she knew about particle physics. She didn't know it yet, but she was about to discover something that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. "Director Matthews," she called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I think you need to see this." The lab director, a veteran of countless breakthrough moments, recognized something different in her tone. He crossed the room quickly, his eyes widening as he processed the data on her screen. "The quantum signatures," he whispered. "They're not random. They're messages," Sarah finished. "Someone's been watching us, and they're about to make contact." High above Earth's atmosphere, Vixthar's personal vessel prepared to transmit the Council's challenge to Earth's governments. The message would appear simultaneously on every communication device on the planet, a show of technological superiority meant to humble the upstart species. But as his communication officer initiated the transmission, something unexpected happened. Earth's quantum field shifted in a way their sensors had never detected before. For a fraction of a second, it seemed as if the entire planet's quantum signature had changed. "High Counselor," his science officer reported, mandibles clicking with concern. They're reading our transmission before we sent it." Vixthar's scales shifted to the white of shock. "Impossible. The encryption." "They're not breaking the encryption," the officer interrupted, breaking protocol in his astonishment. "They're predicting it." Somehow, they've developed quantum predictive algorithms that can extrapolate the content of our transmission from the preliminary handshake signals. In her lab, Sarah Chen smiled as data poured across her screen. The aliens thought they were testing humanity, but they had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this moment for generations. Every science fiction story, every wild imagination of what might be possible, had been humanity's way of rehearsing for first contact. "Director," she said, her fingers flying across the holographic interface, "send the signal to the other facilities. It's time to show them what humanity can really do." As Vixthar prepared to deliver his carefully crafted challenge, he had no way of knowing that humanity was about to turn his test into something entirely unexpected. The game was about to begin, but not in the way the Galactic Federation had planned. The first sign that things weren't going according to plan came when Earth's response arrived before Vixthar had finished transmitting the challenge. The humans hadn't just predicted the content of their message. They had prepared their response in advance, complete with improvements to the very encryption protocols the Federation used. The assessment had begun, but the question was, who was really assessing whom? The challenge. The Galactic Federation's grand testing chamber stretched across an artificial planetoid, its crystalline walls designed to contain the most destructive forces known to spacefaring civilizations. Today, it would host the first of humanity's trials. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the center of the chamber, a small quantum tablet in her hands, facing the assembled council members who floated above in their gravity-defying observation pods. She appeared remarkably calm for someone about to face a challenge designed to humble her entire species. "The parameters are simple," High Counselor Vixthar announced, his scales now a deep purple of ceremonial authority. "You must stabilize a quantum singularity using only the tools provided. Every species that has achieved Federation membership has done so through centuries of careful study. You have one standard rotation." What Vixthar didn't mention was that the challenge was designed to be impossible with the primitive tools they'd provided. It was meant to teach humanity patience, to show them that some achievements couldn't be rushed. Sarah examined the antiquated quantum manipulator they'd given her, its crystalline surface dulled with age. Behind her, in the observation area designated for human witnesses, Director Matthews watched with the rest of Earth's scientific delegation. They all knew what was really at stake here. "Interesting design," Sarah said, turning the manipulator over in her hands. "Early quantum phase technology, isn't it? About 50,000 years old." Vixthar's scales rippled with surprise. The device's age wasn't part of the briefing materials they'd provided. "How did you?" "The crystalline lattice structure," Sarah explained, already beginning to modify the device. "We discovered similar patterns in our quantum archaeology studies. But you know what's fascinating? The base principles are still sound. They just needed a different perspective." Using tools that looked primitive to Federation standards, Sarah began to work. Her movements were precise, but not in the careful way the Council expected. Instead, she moved with the confidence of someone who had already solved the problem and was simply executing a plan. In the observation pod, Ambassador Krull's machine consciousness struggled to process what it was seeing. "High Counselor, she's not attempting to contain the singularity through standard protocols. The human is redirecting it." Indeed, Sarah wasn't fighting against the quantum singularity's enormous power. Instead, she was working with it, using principles that seemed to defy the Federation's understanding of physics. The singularity began to stabilize, not through brute force containment, but through a complex dance of quantum fields that looked almost beautiful. "Impossible," whispered Elder Rix, her crystalline form vibrating with disbelief. "She's using the singularity's own energy to create a self-sustaining stabilization field. The mathematics for such an approach shouldn't even exist." "Oh, but they do," Sarah replied, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "We developed them years ago, actually. It was part of a graduate student's thesis on quantum harmony theory. Fascinating work." She was inspired by watching ripples in a pond. The singularity, now fully stabilized, hung in the air like a miniature galaxy. But Sarah wasn't finished. With a few more adjustments to her modified manipulator, the singularity began to change color, cycling through the spectrum in a controlled pattern. "A little something extra," she explained to the stunned council. "We found that quantum singularities can be used as communication devices if you modulate them correctly. This one is currently broadcasting its own containment protocols to any similar phenomena within 100 light years. Should help prevent any accidental formation of dangerous singularities in nearby space." Vixthar's scales had turned pale gray, a sign of complete astonishment in his species. They had expected humanity to fail, to learn humility. Instead, humanity had not only solved the challenge but improved upon the very nature of the test. In the human observation area, Director Matthews allowed himself a small smile. Phase 1 had gone exactly as planned. The quantum manipulator Sarah had modified wasn't just controlling the singularity. It was gathering data about Federation technology, analyzing their quantum signatures, and transmitting everything back to Earth through subspace channels the Federation didn't even know existed. "Remarkable," Elder Ix declared, her ancient wisdom compelling her to acknowledge what they had witnessed. "But surely this was a singular achievement. The remaining trials will." She was interrupted by a subtle vibration that ran through the chamber. On every council member's personal display, a message appeared, transmitted through the quantum singularity Sarah had just stabilized. It contained detailed proposals for improving the efficiency of their quantum containment technologies, freely shared. "We believe in open-source science," Sarah explained, setting down her modified manipulator. "Knowledge grows when it's shared, after all. Now shall we proceed to the next challenge? We've prepared some interesting improvements for those as well." The council members exchanged worried glances. This wasn't just success. This was mastery they hadn't anticipated. And as Sarah Chen stood calmly in the center of their testing chamber, they began to realize that perhaps they weren't the ones doing the testing after all. In orbit around Earth, countless quantum receivers picked up the data stream from Sarah's modified manipulator. In laboratories across the planet, scientists began analyzing the Federation's technological foundations, finding inefficiencies, discovering possibilities the Federation had never imagined. The challenge had been meant to teach humanity its place in the galactic order. Instead, it was becoming humanity's gateway to revolutionizing that order entirely. The revolution. Admiral James Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Earth's first officially recognized starship, the TSV Prometheus, watching as his crew prepared for the Federation's third challenge. The vessel's quantum core hummed with power that made the Federation's observers distinctly uncomfortable, and for good reason. "They've modified the parameters again," his XO, Commander Lin, reported. "The course they've set through the asteroids has been described as mathematically impossible to navigate." Rodriguez smiled. Mathematically impossible by whose math? The challenge seemed simple on the surface. Navigate through a dense asteroid field while maintaining faster-than-light speeds. The Federation used it to test species' spatial awareness and reaction time. No civilization had ever completed it on their first attempt. Most took decades to develop the necessary technologies. What the Federation didn't know was that humanity had already surpassed their understanding of spatial mechanics. Dr. Chen's insights from the quantum singularity test had only accelerated their progress. "All stations, report," Rodriguez commanded. "Quantum drive at full capacity," came the response from engineering. "Dr. Chen's modifications are holding steady. Reality anchors are online. Navigation has plotted all possible fourth-dimensional vectors," another officer added. "The new quantum predictive arrays are tracking every asteroid's probability path." In the Federation observation vessel, High Counselor Vixthar watched with growing unease. The human ship's energy signature was unlike anything their sensors had ever recorded. It seemed to exist in multiple spatial states simultaneously. "They can't possibly attempt this at full speed," Ambassador Krell's machine consciousness projected. "The computational requirements alone would exceed." The Prometheus jumped to FTL speed. What happened next defied the Federation's understanding of physics. Instead of attempting to navigate between the asteroids, the human vessel seemed to phase through them, existing in the spaces between conventional matter. The ship's quantum field bent reality around it in ways that shouldn't have been possible with known technology. Impossible, Elder Aix whispered, her crystalline form vibrating with shock. They're not avoiding the asteroids. They're quantum tunneling through the probability spaces between them. Course completed, Commander Lin announced calmly aboard the Prometheus. Time to completion, 3.7 seconds. That's a new record for the crew. Rodriguez nodded, but his attention was focused on the data streaming in from the ship's sensors. Every asteroid they'd passed through had been thoroughly scanned, its composition analyzed, its quantum signature recorded. The challenge course had become an impromptu scientific survey. Transmit the mineral survey data back to Earth, he ordered. Some of these asteroids contain elements we haven't seen before. Our metallurgists will have a field day. In her laboratory back on Earth, Dr. Chen was already analyzing the Prometheus's quantum wake. The ship hadn't just completed the challenge. It had rewritten the fundamental rules of space travel. The Federation's observers didn't realize it yet, but humanity had just demonstrated technology that made traditional FTL drives obsolete. Director Matthews, she called out, the quantum entanglement network is picking up something interesting from the Federation observers. Their attempts to scan our ship are teaching us more about their sensor technology than they're learning about ours. Matthews approached her display, his eyes widening at the data. They're still using quantum observation principles that we abandoned years ago. Their entire understanding of reality is based on outdated models. Should we share the newer models with them? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. As always, Dr. Chen. Knowledge grows when shared. Back on the Prometheus, Rodriguez received a priority message from Earth Command. The Federation's reaction to their success had confirmed their theories. The aliens were technologically stagnant, trapped by their own assumptions about what was possible. Sir, Commander Lin reported, we're receiving requests for technical consultation from 17 different Federation species. They want to know how we achieved quantum tunneling at FTL speeds. Rodriguez smiled. This had been part of the plan all along. Humanity hadn't just been developing new technologies. They'd been preparing to teach them to the galaxy. Send them the basic principles, he ordered, and inform them that Earth is establishing a quantum sciences academy, open to all species interested in collaborative research. In the Federation observation vessel, Vixthar's scales had turned a deep blue of revelation. The humans weren't just passing their tests. They were revolutionizing everything the Federation thought they knew about science and technology. And they were doing it not through conquest or competition, but through open collaboration and shared discovery. The revolution wasn't just technological, it was philosophical. The third challenge had been meant to demonstrate the limits of human capability. Instead, it had become humanity's demonstration that there were no limits, only opportunities for growth and learning. As the Prometheus prepared to return to Earth, its quantum wake left ripples in space-time that would echo across the galaxy. The revolution had begun, not with weapons or warfare, but with knowledge freely given and boundaries joyfully broken. The revelation. The Grand Council chamber fell silent as the holographic displays showed the impossible. Humanity hadn't just mastered the Federation's challenges, they had transcended them. But it was what happened next that truly shook the foundations of galactic civilization. Honorable Council. Dr. Chen's hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, her presence transmitted through quantum entanglement channels that made the Federation's communications look primitive. We've completed your trials. Now, we'd like to show you something. High Counselor Vixthar's scales shifted nervously. Something in her tone suggested this was more than a simple demonstration. Proceed, he managed, trying to maintain his composure. The chamber's quantum field rippled as thousands of human quantum satellites activated simultaneously across Federation space. They had been there all along, disguised as space debris, collecting data and analyzing Federation technology. For centuries, Chen continued, humanity dreamed of the stars. We wrote stories, created art, imagined countless possibilities. When we finally reached space, we discovered something fascinating. The universe was both more and less than we imagined. The holographic display shifted, showing the Federation's technological progression over 50,000 years. Then, overlaid on top, humanity's progress over just 2 centuries. The contrast was stark. You see, Chen explained, while you were building walls, we were building bridges. While you were hoarding knowledge, we were sharing it. While you were maintaining stability, we were embracing chaos and learning from it. Ambassador Krell's machine consciousness projected confusion. The quantum signatures, they're everywhere. How long have you been watching us? Since before you knew we existed, Chen smiled. Every probe you sent, every observation you made, we were learning, adapting, improving. Not just your technology, but the fundamental principles behind it. The chamber's displays came alive with new data, improvements to Federation technology that their scientists hadn't even conceived of. Quantum drive modifications that increased efficiency by 300%. Power systems that practically eliminated energy loss. Communication networks that transcended traditional space-time limitations. We're not here to challenge your authority, Chen assured them, though her words carried an unmistakable weight. We're here to wake you up. The universe is infinite, but your thinking has become finite. Elder Ax's crystalline form pulsed with realization. The trials. You knew about them before we even conceived them. Of course, Chen nodded. Just as we knew you would try to contain us, test us, measure us against your standards. But standards can become chains. Tradition can become a prison. We refuse to be bound by either. Across Federation space, human quantum satellites began transmitting. Not threats or demands, but knowledge. Free, unrestricted access to humanity's scientific and technological discoveries. Everything from improved food production to revolutionary quantum physics theories. This is dangerous, Vixthar protested. Unrestricted sharing of advanced technology is precisely what the galaxy needs. Chen interrupted. Fear of knowledge is what made you stagnant. Control of information is what stopped your progress. We're not asking permission, High Counselor. We're showing you a better way. In orbit around Earth, the TSV Prometheus and its sister ships activated their new quantum drives simultaneously. The energy signature was unlike anything the Federation had ever seen. Pure, efficient, elegant in its simplicity. What you're seeing, Chen explained as the council watched in awe, is what happens when imagination meets reality. When you stop asking why and start asking why not. When you embrace the chaos of possibility instead of hiding behind the walls of certainty. The revelation wasn't just about technology. It was about philosophy, about approach, about the fundamental nature of progress itself. Humanity had taken the Federation's careful, controlled development model and turned it inside out. We offer you a choice, Chen concluded. Continue as you have, trapped by your own rules and restrictions, or join us in something new. A Federation not of control, but of collaboration. Not of regulation, but of innovation. The council chamber erupted in discussion, but the decision had already been made for them. Across Federation space, species were already accessing the human quantum network, downloading centuries of scientific progress, experiencing the freedom of unrestricted knowledge sharing. The revelation had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The New Dawn. 1 year after humanity's revelation, the galaxy had transformed in ways the Federation's council could never have predicted. The Grand Chamber that had once housed their deliberations now served as the central hub of the Galactic Knowledge Exchange, a testament to humanity's vision of open collaboration. High Counselor Vixthar, now serving as a liaison between the Old Guard and the New Order, watched as representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in person, and via quantum projection. His scales shimmered with a new color, one his species had evolved to represent acceptance of radical change. The quantum harmonics network has achieved full coverage, Dr. Chen announced from her position at the central podium. Every inhabited world in known space now has access to unrestricted scientific and cultural exchange. The results of this unprecedented sharing were displayed on massive holographic screens throughout the chamber. Worlds that had languished in technological stasis for millennia were now achieving breakthroughs daily. Species that had been deemed too primitive for Federation membership were developing their own unique solutions to universal problems. The Proxians have successfully reversed their planet's environmental damage, Commander Lin reported, her hologram flickering with barely contained excitement. They combined our quantum field technology with their native biological engineering. The results are beautiful. Admiral Rodriguez, now overseeing the joint development of the new Galactic Exploration Fleet, stepped forward. The Arcturus Collective has integrated human quantum computing principles with their machine consciousness. They're discovering new dimensions of artificial intelligence we never imagined possible. But perhaps most remarkably, the changes weren't just technological. The free flow of knowledge had brought with it cultural exchange, artistic collaboration, and philosophical cross-pollination. Humanity's stories, their dreams, their fiction, their wild imaginings, had sparked a renaissance of creativity across the galaxy. We were wrong, Elder Ix admitted, her crystalline form resonating with the harmonic frequencies of the new quantum network. We thought progress needed to be controlled, measured, restricted. Instead, it needed to be set free. Dr. Chen smiled, remembering the day they had first revealed humanity's true capabilities. The greatest discoveries often come not from careful planning, but from the chaos of unrestricted imagination. When we stop trying to control knowledge and start sharing it, we all grow together. Around Earth, the once primitive solar system had become a hub of galactic innovation. The asteroid belt hosted vast research stations where scientists from across the galaxy collaborated on projects that would have been deemed impossible just a year ago. Mars had been transformed into a living laboratory where 100 species worked together to perfect planetary terraforming. The Quantum Entanglement Network has detected signals from beyond the galaxy's edge, a young Centaurian scientist announced, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with excitement. Using humanity's chaos theory algorithms, we've begun to decode them. There's so much more out there to discover. And that was perhaps humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, not their technology or their scientific principles, but their boundless enthusiasm for the unknown. Their ability to face uncertainty not with fear, but with excitement, not with control, but with curiosity. We stand at the dawn of a new era, Chen declared, her words carried instantly across the galaxy through the quantum network. Not as separate species fighting for advantage, but as a united civilization reaching for the stars. The barriers between us have fallen. The walls we built to contain knowledge have crumbled. And in their place, we've built bridges. As if to emphasize her words, the Prometheus and its sister ships activated their newest quantum drives simultaneously. The energy signature was visible from every world in the Federation, a reminder that the impossible was simply tomorrow's breakthrough waiting to happen. The challenges we face now are not tests or trials, Chen continued. They are opportunities to learn, to grow, to discover together. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy, not just our knowledge, but our way of thinking, our ability to dream, to imagine, to push beyond the boundaries of what is known into the realm of what could be. The new dawn had arrived, not with conquest or competition, but with collaboration and shared discovery. The galaxy had been transformed not by force, but by the simple, powerful idea that knowledge, like light, shines brightest when it is shared freely. In the quantum streams that now connected all of known space, the dreams and discoveries of 1,000 species flowed freely, each adding their unique perspective to the grand tapestry of understanding. And somewhere, in a distant corner of the galaxy, A young species looked up at their night sky and saw not darkness, but the light of possibility shining down on them, inviting them to join the greatest adventure in the history of all civilizations. The age of limits had ended. The age of discovery had begun.